AI, it's probably one of the most powerful tools we have ever created. But all that power, well, it brings incredible complexity. And that leaves us with a fundamental challenge. How do we actually manage the risks of something that's constantly learning, constantly evolving?
So how do you really get your arms around this thing? The first instinct is always to just pile on more rules, right? More checklists, more compliance paperwork. But that approach, it often just suffocates innovation without ever getting to the real root of the problem. What if the answer isn't about adding more rules, but about a completely different way of thinking?
And that is the core idea we're going to dig into today. Think of it like a new operating system for AI risk. It's a mental model that goes way deeper than just policies and procedures. It's about fundamentally changing how an organization sees itself, how its people behave, and the very systems that support them.
Okay, so here's the model at the very heart of this new OS. It's like a roadmap that works from the inside out. It all starts with identity, who you are. That identity then shapes your behavior, what you do. That behavior gets locked in and reinforced by systems, how you do it. And all of that together determines your outcomes, what you ultimately get. Simple, right? But it's an incredibly powerful way to create real, lasting change.
So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through each piece of this model, and more importantly, we're going to map it directly onto a super critical real-world guide, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, or the RMF.
First up, identity. You have to start here. This is the foundation. Look, before you can change what an organization does, you first have to redefine what it is. We're talking about the deep-down culture, the core beliefs that drive every single decision.
This quote just nails it. Think about it. If an organization sees itself as just a tech innovator, it's going to act one way. But if it sees itself as a responsible tech innovator, its actions will be totally different. That shift in identity, that's the first domino that has to fall. And this isn't just some abstract idea. It's exactly where the NIST framework begins. Its very first function is called govern. And it's not about buying some new tool or writing a policy that sits on a shelf. Now, it's about embedding a risk-aware identity into the very DNA of the organization. It's about building a culture where managing risk is just who you are.
All right, so once that identity starts to take hold, once you begin to see yourselves as an organization that takes AI risk seriously, something cool happens. It naturally leads to new behaviors. You start asking different questions. You start taking different actions.
The magic word here is automatic. When that new identity is really and truly embedded, doing the right thing isn't a chore anymore. It just becomes the natural way you operate. Just like the quote says, behavior starts to follow identity like a shadow. It just happens. So what does this look like in the NIST framework? Well, these new behaviors are captured in the next two functions, map and measure. Map is basically the behavior of looking around, understanding the world your AI is going to live in, and proactively hunting for potential risks. Measure is the behavior of then digging in, assessing how serious those risks are, and keeping tabs on them.
But here's the crucial part. You can't just use the same old risk management playbook you used for traditional software. AI risks are a whole different beast. They aren't just static bugs hiding in the code. They can pop up dynamically from data that's constantly changing, from testing standards that are still being written, and from the sheer unpredictability of these complex systems. This new world demands a new set of behaviors.
So you've set the identity, you've kicked off the new behaviors, but how do you make it all stick? Especially when you're talking about a huge organization. That is where systems come into play. The whole goal here is to make the right way, the easy way.
This gets at a fundamental truth about people, you know? Willpower doesn't scale. Good intentions are great, but they're not enough. You have to actually design your environment, your workflows, your processes, your tools to reinforce the behaviors you want. The system has to make responsible risk management the default path, the path of least resistance. And you guessed it, this is the manage function in the NIST framework. It's the system that turns all that mapping and measuring into concrete, prioritized action. It's about having solid processes for deciding which risks to tackle first and how to do it consistently, every single time. This is where good behavior gets hardwired into the machine.
So what's the point of all this, anyway? Adopting a new identity, changing all these behaviors, building these new systems, where does it all lead? What is the outcome we're actually trying to create here?
The payoff, the whole reason for installing this new operating system is simple to say, but it's incredibly profound. It's about creating trustworthy AI.
building AI that people and organizations and society as a whole can actually rely on to be effective, to be fair, and to be safe.
And hey, trust isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. In the NIST framework, it's a very concrete outcome, and it's defined by these 7 measurable characteristics. Is the system reliable? Is it transparent? Is it fair? This is the scorecard. This is the tangible proof that your entire operating system is actually working.
Now, it is so important to understand that this way of thinking is not happening in a vacuum. The NIST framework and the principles it's built on are part of a much, much larger global conversation about how we build and use AI responsibly.
Just take a look at this table. You can see this powerful alignment happening all over the world. See how the core ideas of trustworthy AI from NIST line up almost perfectly with principles from the OECD and the proposed EU AI Act? Whether we're talking about fairness, transparency, or security, a clear global consensus is forming on what good actually looks like.
And this brings us to a really powerful closing idea: sovereignty. Now, in this context, sovereignty isn't about power over other people. It's about having mastery over our own creations. This whole operating system we've been talking about, it's a framework for achieving exactly that. It's about being intentional, about designing your identity, your behaviors, and your systems so you get the outcomes you want, instead of just reacting to whatever your technology happens to spit out.
And that really is the crucial question this whole operating system leaves us with. Are we just building powerful, autonomous AI that does its own thing? Or are we building the culture and the systems that give us, as individuals, as companies, as a society, sovereignty over that technology? That is the challenge, and frankly, the opportunity that's right in front of all of us.